How you doing? This is a beautiful Sunday morning. I've worked 2 days on this truck straight. This is a 2011 International Transstar. So a few of the problems that we had with this truck. Number one, the flex pipe was broken. I don't know if you can see that back in there, but we removed the exhaust and installed a new flex pipe. That was the first thing that we did, and we had an EGR code, so I replaced the EGR with a new one, sent it on its way. 2 days later, truck came back with an EGR low flow code. I don't remember the number. It's been about a week ago now, but anyway, this is what I found on this truck. This is on the cold side. This is the cap to where the two lines come out and go back into the intake. So this is on the cold side of the EGR cooler. And you can see this bottom hole is plugged off all the way. This one was plugged off halfway. And it was just packed with gunk. You can't see it, but there's actually a thermocoupler here, or heat sensor, temp sensor, and it's completely covered. See, it goes in there. So this is how plugged the EGR cooler was, with packed full of, it just rained, so this is nice and mushy now, but it was just packed full of soot. And actually had an orange stream right down the middle, right here, which is an indication that it had a small coolant leak somewhere internally. Now this EGR cooler, you can see from the back, is really not that horrible. You have a little bit here, but it looks pretty clean. This is the hot side. You cannot tell how plugged these get from the hot side, okay? You must remove the cold side, which is the end of the spectrum. Okay? So exhaust gas recirculates from the exhaust, comes up, goes through the EGR valve, which opens and closes right here with butterfly valves, and goes through the hot side. This is the hot side, which cools off the hot temperature. Then it goes through this cooler, which brings it down to engine operating temperature, about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is our new cooler. This cooler is about $2,800. And you can see, this is the cap from the cold side here. Okay, these are the two tubes that go back into the intake, and the cooler goes way back into the back of this machine, in the back of the engine. Now this cooler, like I said, is about $2,800. I got this one on eBay for $860 out of a 2014 truck that had been wrecked, so I knew it was running when it was wrecked. So I went ahead and ordered it, and it came with the EGR valve, so it have a spare EGR valve too. But I got it for $860, and I took both the ends off, and it was like brand new, clean. So I blew it out, got whatever soot was in there, got it out, very clean and very good shape. This is the back of the engine. Okay, so this is where our two tubes come in right here into our EGR valve, and then go through the cooler. But this EGR cooler is not a very easy thing to replace. So if you don't have a lot of tools, I would recommend taking it to a professional, because they are quite the challenge to get out, especially if you don't have a lot of tools. Not so bad if you got the right tools, but trying to do it with a crescent wrench and a socket set full of 10 sockets is not going to happen. But anyway, another point I wanted to show is when I got this from eBay, it showed up and this tab had a crack in it, and as you can see from the threads, they're squashed. Somebody had dropped this, so immediately I was pretty furious. You know, $860. So I inspected the inside. The core was far enough away to where it could be welded, so we went ahead and TIG welded it all the way around and took care of that problem. Next problem I had is from the 2011 to 2014. There is some minute changes. On the cold side, you have this Y fitting, and this Y fitting is a press-in fitting. If you can see it right there. So on the 2011 model, the Y fitting has a little bit smaller neck. A little bit, I say 7/8, and the 2014 model is 1 1/4, so it's a pretty big difference. Luckily, I was able to take the old cooler and I cut the neck off of it, which by luck, I guess, the outside diameter of this neck was 1.27, so it was perfect. I took it and machined it down to get a nice press-in fit, and I pressed that into the neck on the new cooler. I drilled a hole and put a set screw so it wouldn't move. Of course, I used some Loctite, some green sleeve compound. Pressed it in, then I was able to press the Y fitting in there, and it worked like a charm. But just showing you what a blocked EGR cooler looks like. You can get aftermodel kits for these, for the cores. The dealer no longer sells cores. They want to sell you the whole thing, but you can get the cores. They're about $800–900 each, depending on which core you get, where you get it. As you can see, I tried to pull this one out just to see what the inside looked like, but you really can't pull it out unless you have a puller for this, which I could make one, but I didn't really want to because I was going to replace it anyway. But you drill in here, put bolts in it, basically just pulls the core out. It's like a heat exchanger is all it is. But anyway, 2011 International EGR cooler replacement.